بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. First, I would like to congratulate you for the birth anniversary of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. May Allah include us among his true Shia and grant us his shafa, inshallah, and ziyarah in dunya, inshallah. We continue our study about the life of the Prophet Yusuf ala nabiyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam, and the part that we want to discuss tonight is about the period after he was adopted as a son by Aziz of Misr, or was undertaken by him as a potential adopted son. So if we go to Surah Yusuf, please. So verse 21 we discussed last session that وقال الذي اشتراه من مصر لامرأته أكرمي مثواه عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا. The person from Egypt who purchased Yusuf, who had high position in the government of Pharaoh, like a prime minister, told his wife that this is not a kind of a slave to be like treated like a servant, etc. Honor akrami mathwa, honor the place that he's going to be there. Maybe he will benefit us, asan yanfa'ana aw nattakhidhu walada, even we may adopt him as a child because they didn't have child. وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. This was the way that we established Yusuf, beginning of gaining power. فِي الْأَرْضِ, in the land, perhaps meaning in Misr. وَلِنُعَلِّمَهُ مِنْ تَعْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. This is a point that needs more reflection. For different reasons. وَلِنُعَلِّمَهُ. If you know Arabic grammar, you realize that there must be other things as well. For doing this, وَلِنُعَلِّمَهُ. Because this لِنُعَلِّمَهُ explains the reason, but it says وَلِنُ means it's one of the reasons. One reason for taking him to this household and establishing him there is that we wanted to teach him min ta'wil al-ahadith, how to interpret dreams. Meaning that it's in this house and in this place that he is going to be taught by Allah min ta'wil al-ahadith, how to interpret the dreams, which is playing a great role in the future of Yusuf and the whole nation there. What is the reason? What's the connection? It is said that normally such gifts which are not also possible to learn. You can learn to some extent, for example, from people who know how to interpret dreams, but many of the things are really in need of inspirations, because they are not exactly repeating themselves. So I cannot, for example, go and learn how to interpret hadith, meaning dreams, by taking some courses. It can help, but it's not enough. Like the story that the dream of Pharaoh, even those who were experts of interpreting dreams, they were not able to understand what does it mean that there would be 7 thin cows, 7 fat cows, etc. Yusuf was able to interpret. So this shows this is not something conventional. For learning such things, there is need for purity. There is need for passing difficult tests for proving that you are a God-fearing person. And Pharaoh and his people, and even Aziz of Misr, etc., they had very kind of luxurious life. They were very separate from masses of people. Yusuf in this house was witnessing poverty of people, was witnessing discrimination, but he was not taking the side of the privileged people, let alone oppressors. Number one. Number two, as a young person who is powerful, who is beautiful, who has support, who has reputation, who has Aziz of Misr and wife of Aziz as his support, Yusuf could easily get into pride, get into thinking he's a special, or na'udhu billah, even be tempted to do haram. But he, despite all these things, remained very pious, very humble, very God-fearing, very much thinking of the poor people, oppressed people. And maybe one of the peaks was the story of Zulaykha, that we will explain inshallah tonight. And remaining pious and God-fearing despite all these challenges and attractions and temptations, qualified him to receive a gift, or maybe more than a gift. One of them is Ta'wil al-Ahadith. Ayatollah Makaram Shirazi mentions also the story of Ibn Sirin. You might have heard one of the people who is well known in interpreting dreams is Ibn Sirin. There are some even books about it. There are in some some websites, for example, when they interpret the dream, they say according to Ibn Sirin, this is the meaning. He's a famous person in this field. How he was gifted? He was a shopkeeper. He was selling clothes. We call bazzaz. And he was beautiful. A woman purchased some goods from him and said to bring to my house. This woman had fallen in love with him, but he was innocent, So when he took the goods into the house of that woman, that was the time that no one was at the house. She had planned that. No one was at the house. She locked the door and said, I would not let you go unless you listen to me. And she wanted to satisfy herself. And he was trying hard to convince her to let him go. She was not listening. She had the key and maybe hiding the key, etc. It is said that Ibn Sirin then said, okay, let me go to wash myself or to go washroom, etc. And then he used something to make his body dirty and look not, very bad. And this woman, when saw him in that condition, lost her desire and let him go. After that, they say he was gifted with this ability to interpret dreams. Because a big test, a young man, a woman is, presenting herself and then forcing him, and there is no one else, but he was pious and tried the best he could do to get rid of this satanic plan. So, ta'wilul ahadith, inspiration, things like these are gifts that Allah gives normally after big tests. So Yusuf was gifted this also. Wallahu ghalibun ala amri. Allah is very dominant and very capable of doing his affairs without being stopped. We explained about makaru wa makar Allah. So no one can stop his plans. Then it was in this house and this stage that walamma balagha ashuddah awtaynahu hukman wa ilma. We gave him hukm. Hukm either means hikmah, wisdom, or hukm can mean ability to judge or ability to rule. So he was kind of appointed for some big tasks in future. We say Rabbi habli hukman wa alhaqni bis salihin. Yeah, in the Quran. Hukman can be hikmah, can be hukm as ruling, can be knowledge. So, and also physically he grew, he became powerful, strong. Ashbalaga ashuddah. So when he grew up with taqwa, we gifted him with this. This hawk can refer to nubuwwah, also prophethood, that this growth qualified him to be given the appointment as a prophet. The next issue, if we can go forward, is about the wife of Aziz Misr, who was like a mother somehow for Yusuf. He grew up in his Aziz's house and her house, but she was not a exception to that kind of lifestyle. Indeed, she was one of those people who were after pleasure, after satisfaction, and she was an idol worshipper. So when she saw the innocence of Yusuf from childhood and beauty of Yusuf when he grew up, especially as a man, and that he has no interest, in relation with girls, etc. It's very innocent, very nice, very pious. So everything that could attract a woman to a man was there in Yusuf. And this woman, despite being married and being like mother for Yusuf, unfortunately, Shaitan and Nafsa Ammara triggered her shahawat to the extent that she was asking maybe on different occasions Yusuf, and Yusuf was not listening. So one day when she was alone in the palace, or she thought she's alone, she took and called Yusuf to a room which was very secure. Maybe 7 doors were between that room and public places in the palace or in the big house of the Aziz, where maybe visitors, servants, etc., cook, etc., were going and coming. There were 7 doors, so it was very, very secure inside. She called Yusuf and locked all the doors, and it is said that she put on her very beautiful, very attractive clothes, used perfume, etc., presented herself to Yusuf and said, Hayta lak, I am ready for you, I am prepared for you, come on. قال معاذ الله. Yusuf alayhi salam, without any hesitation, without thinking that, should I accept, shouldn't I accept, quickly said, معاذ الله. He didn't say, I don't do it. He didn't say, anything except that I ask Allah for protection. Maybe also this was not only for this request, for everything that can follow, because he must be aware that if he says no, there are consequences. Yes is a problem. No also is not free from problems. So he is asking Allah to be his refuge, and this is very powerful way of gaining support, ista'adha. Inshallah, I plan to talk about ista'adha, inshallah, in English. I talked about ista'adha in Farsi in Sweden, Stockholm, in 3-4 sessions, inshallah. I hope in English also I can talk about ista'adha, because I think we need to know more, most of us, we need to know more about ista'adha, and the power of ista'adha is not something just like a formality. You say a'udhu billah min ash-shaytan ar-rajim, or you say ma'adh Allah, or a kind of expressing, some aqaidi point, etc. No, it's very powerful. Means actually, when you trigger this tool of ista'adha, you will be provided with extra protection, extra support. Inshallah, Allah gives us tawfiq to understand better and talk about it, inshallah, in English. قال معاذ الله. And it's very important that also when I'm talking to myself and inshallah to you, I am myself, inshallah, to take this lesson. When we see something is haram, we should not even think about it or bargain about it, negotiate about it. If it's haram, it's haram, leave it. Don't think about it. Don't waste your time, and don't let it become more and more attractive. When there's haram suggestion, haram business, haram work, haram trip, whatever, haram relation, don't even think about it. Because it's a slippery road. If you start thinking, then shaitan can get you in, God forbids. From beginning say no. Ma'adh Allah. إنه ربي أحسن مثواي. إنه ربي أحسن مثواي. Who is referred to by Rabbi? Maybe he refers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that has looked after him all the time, and he says, how can I disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how can I do such a thing? And maybe also it means that Aziz of Misr, who is my Lord, not divine Lord, but meaning someone that is responsible for me, who has grown me up, has protected me. I have been in his house. You remember he said to his wife, Akrami Mathwa. He asked his wife, he gave all the support, all the means, all the money, all the servants to look after Yusuf. So maybe Ennahu Rabbi Ahsana Mathwa also means that how can I betray to Aziz Misr, who has looked after me? This is a double crime. If you were a stranger, still I would not accept. But now you are like my mother, he is like my father who has looked after me. I have not seen anything harm coming from him to me. إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُ. If I do this, this is zulm, and those who are doing zulm are not going to be happy to be receiving felicity. So maybe also إِنَّهُ Rabbi refers to Aziz Misr, maybe refers to the main Rabb, to the real Rabb, the true Rabb, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah says, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَنْ رَأَى بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. When it comes to Zulaykha, hammat bihi. If you go to the next ayah, laqad hammat bihi, in the next ayah, ayah 24, she certainly was interested in Yusuf and wanted Yusuf. Hammat bihi, a strong desire and wanting for Yusuf. But Yusuf is differently talked about. There is no laqad for Yusuf. Laqad shows ta'akid. For Zulaykha there is laqad. For Yusuf is hamma biha, but also there is a condition. Lawla an ra'a burhan. Yusuf also would have wanted her had it not been that he saw the proof from his Lord. Meaning that if Yusuf was left without support, he said ma'adallah, he asked for protection. Allah provided him with burhan. If you remember in the discussion about Isma, we say that Isma, it is said, is a matter of knowledge. Especially Ayatollah Mutahari in his book Prophethood and Revelation, he said Isma is a matter of knowledge. When you know ugliness of sins, you will not do it. Like most of us, with respect to some of the sins, we are immune. We have Isma. For example, we don't go and throw ourselves from the roof. We don't go nakedly to the street. We are ma'soom with respect to these things. Prophets and Imams, because of the knowledge that they have, they see the true face of sins and they don't commit sins. It's not that they are not able. They are able, but they don't do it. So here also, it's a matter of burhan, it's a matter of a special kind of knowledge that Allah provided Yusuf with, which was a kind of intuition, a kind of witnessing, a kind of vision. Because it says ra'a, something that can be seen, which showed Yusuf the true picture of this haram. So he didn't want hamma biha, but lawla had it not been. So he didn't have any attempt for this. كذلك لنصرف عنه السوء والفحشاء. This was in order to turn far from him, turn away for him all the bad things and all the ugly things. Why? Is it arbitrary that Allah gives some people this extra care and support and protection and He doesn't give to some people? No, it's not arbitrary. إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُخْلَصِينَ. He was indeed one of our purified servants. Mukhlas. Not even mukhlis. Mukhlas is higher than mukhlis. Mukhlis is the one who is trying to purify himself, his action, his intentions. Mukhlas is the one who is already purified. And normally, this is my understanding is that it's a level that you exhaust whatever you can do, but then Allah comes and takes over and does the rest of the job. Mukhlas, muqarrab, you can be mutaqarrab, but muqarrab means is brought nearer. Up to certain extent, we go closer to Allah and He helps us, of course. But then a time reaches that maybe we cannot go any further. He does all the job because we are, reaching end of our power. Whatever I could do, I have done it. So there is Burhan. This is to help him to be protected from bad things, and he was a mukhlas. He was one of the mukhlasin. And there are few qualities for mukhlasin in the Qur'an. One of them is that Shaitan says, لَأَغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. Except those servants of you who are mukhlas, like Yusuf. إِنَّهُ عِبَادَ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. I'm going to deceive them except these people. Perhaps it means I am not even going to try to deceive them. Because it's not that Shaitan deceives everyone except mukhlasin. There are many people that he cannot deceive, but when it comes to mukhlasin, he cannot even approach them. He would find it waste of time to attempt to misguide the mukhlasin. Another quality of mukhlasin is that they can describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adequately or properly, at least. Subhanallah amma yasifun illa ibadallah al-mukhlasin. Another quality is that Allah is going to bring everyone for accounting on the Day of Judgment. إِنَّهُمْ لَمُحْضَرُونَ except mukhlasin. So mukhlasin have some very high qualities. And Yusuf was one of them. It shows that even at a young age, when you are sincere, you can reach such a high position. خب. Yusuf realized that the best thing is to leave this place. When you are in a wrong place, leave it. Don't, put yourself under pressure. So he tried to run away from this situation. But Zulaykha also went after him. Now there are two problems with Zulaykha. One is she has a deep desire which is not satisfied. It's burning her. Another thing that now maybe she feels humiliated that Yusuf is refusing. So she cannot be patient. She ran also after Yusuf. وَاسْتَبَقَ الْبَابِ. Everyone wanted to go quickly towards the door. These doors seem to be made in the way that they could be locked from inside, so that people cannot disturb. But from inside you could open them. If they were able to open them from outside, it was not very secure. So it was like an internal door that could be locked from inside. This seems to be the case. So now Yusuf can open. People from outside, maybe they couldn't open because it was locked. She went either to not let Yusuf open the door, or maybe herself also run away and say something that Yusuf wanted to do something. Maybe she was worried that Yusuf is going to announce this, and it's better that if I precede and I announce this, maybe. واستبق الباب وقدت قميصه من دبر. She tried to stop Yusuf by holding on his clothes, and then what happened was that she tore the clothes of Yusuf. And at that time, just next to the door, the husband of Zulaykha was there. Maybe for some reason, he came home unexpectedly. Maybe he had forgotten something at home. Maybe he wanted to talk to Zulaykha. Whatever, he came when Zulaykha didn't expect him. So both found him next to the door. Zulaykha showed here very kind of clever in a satanic sense, of course, approach. She didn't, keep silent. She was not, panicking, etc. She planned quickly something, or maybe in the past she had thought about it. قالت ما جزاء من أراد بأهلك سوءا. What should be done to someone who has bad intention, evil intention to your wife? Maybe in the past she had prepared this because she didn't expect Aziz to be there, and just in seconds she made such a a statement which is very moving. Any husband, especially someone who has power, if he hears this from his wife and see that there is a man with his wife, may get very angry, and even maybe just starts beating the man, etc. If he has power to kill, etc. So she said, ما جزاء من أراد بأهلك سوءا. And then she didn't stop here. She herself said that the punishment also must be إلا أن يسجن, either must be imprisoned, or عذاب أليم, painful punishment. So she wanted to say, I am not guilty. Yusuf is guilty. I am offended by this. I have no interest in Yusuf. I ask him to be punished. This could leave no doubt in the mind of Aziz Emes that if my wife had any desire, any friendship, any relation with this man, would not say I should punish him or put him in prison. So she tried to pretend that she's Mazluma. She's very oppressed here. She's the one that needs, justice. Yusuf alayhi salam had to defend himself, because this is not something that you can be silent when they are accusing you of a big crime, especially in front of someone that you have respect for him. He said, قال هي راودتني عن نفسي. He Yusuf said, here, she is the one that solicited me, or she's the one who kept coming to me. Murawada sometimes means keeping going, She was asking me for this. I didn't ask her anything. I even didn't have, interest. She is the one who is responsible for everything. هي راودتني عن نفسي. But he didn't say, bad words. He didn't, say that she is this, she is that. He just tried to defend himself to the minimum necessary. Then Allah, who is Ma'az and protector, gives refuge, not only show Burhan to Yusuf, also prepared here also a kind of proof for Aziz Misr to understand the truth. Because now, how can he understand? Of course, he knows that Yusuf has never told any lies. He knows Yusuf is a truthful person. But as a man, I think he's inclined toward thinking that his wife is not going to betray him. So it was not for him very clear that his wife is wrong. Also, in front of others, was better for him to say that my wife was innocent, if this leaks out. But Allah helped Yusuf again. وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا. A witness who was from the side of Zulaykha, from her family, offered testimony, which is very good kind of way of distinguishing who is right, who is wrong. إن كان قميصه قد من قبل فصدقت فصدقت وهو من الكاذبين وإن كان قميصه قد من دبر فكذبت وهو من الصادقين. Yusuf's dress or shirt is torn, not Zulaykha's dress. If Yusuf's shirt was torn from front, this means that Yusuf was pressurizing her and she was fighting to defend herself and hold the shirt of Yusuf and was torn. But if it is from the back of the shirt, it shows that Yusuf was trying to run away and she was indeed after Yusuf. Who was this Shahid? It is said that this Shahid was a wise person who had hikmah and intelligence and was one of the relatives of Zulaykha, and maybe came at the same time with the Aziz Misr. Anyway, he was also present and he gave this kind of suggestion, this kind of solution. This is one view. Another view is that there was a baby from the family of Zulaykha, because Zulaykha didn't have child. There was a baby, maybe, for example, her niece or someone from her family, and that baby offered testimony. Even some say, that Yusuf alayhi salam asked Aziz to ask this baby, and the baby started speaking. But Ayatollah Makarim says there is a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that it's not from Imam Sadiq, attributed to Imam Sadiq, that it was a baby, but he says this hadith is weak. And therefore, if it's only because of that hadith sanad is weak. If there are other reasons, we need to see what documents they have. So it's possible that even it was an adult that was offering this testimony. It was something that even if he himself had thought, could have realized, needed someone just to give a hint. There are things that when they are said, they don't need any extra proof. فَلَمَّا رَأَى قَمِيصَهُ قُدَّ مِن دُبُرٍ, when he saw that, yes, the shirt of Yusuf is torn from front, قَالَ إِنَّهُ مِن كَيْدِكُنَّ, this is from your kaid, this is your plot, this is your evil planning. And he didn't say just you, إِنَّهُ مِن كَيْدِكَ, إِنَّهُ مِن كَيْدِكُنَّ, إِنَّ كَيْدَكُنَّ عَظِيم. She said it in a general way. Either maybe he didn't want to be very explicit, and instead of saying, you particularly wanted to make it general, or maybe he wanted to say that there are women like this. Not every woman, but there are women that were in that society, in that environment, people that later we will talk about them. The women in their contacts, nisbatun fil Medina, not all the women, but some. They were similar in thinking like Zulaykha. Therefore, he uses a plural form. Inna kaydakunna azim. Although Aziz Ames is not ma'soom and he can make a mistake, but normally we try to understand something that Allah quotes, even if it's from a normal, ordinary person who's not ma'soom, or from someone who is even bad person. We try to understand it as much as possible as a matter of truth, unless there is evidence against it. For example, when Shaitan says لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. We don't say, okay, if Shaitan said something, maybe even mukhlasin can be misguided. Shaitan was wrong. No, we take it as a matter of truth. But when Shaitan says, I am better than Adam, you created him from tin, you created me from fire, we say this is wrong. Why? Because there's evidence that this is wrong. He is not khairun. So, unless there is evidence, we try to take these things in the way that indicate a truth which is beyond this person. It is, more transcendent than this person. إِنَّ كَيْدَكُنَّ عَظِيمٌ. Yusuf, أَعْرِضْ عَنْ هَذَا. He said, Yusuf, please ignore this. Leave it. Don't take it further. Don't, push it. Don't talk about this to other people. Leave it, ignore it, as if this has not happened. وَاسْتَغْفِرِي لِذَنْبِكَ. But he said to his wife, ask God to forgive you your sins. إِنَّكَ كُنْتَ مِنَ الْخَاطِئِينَ. You were one of the wrongdoers. He kept calm. He didn't, act badly at this point. It seems he was, very balanced in his actions. He didn't, accuse Yusuf. He didn't say too much bad things to his wife. At the same time, said that you have to ask for forgiveness. Shows that he was mindful of Allah, and that, someone should ask for maghfirah from him, it doesn't look that he's saying, ask me to forgive you. Wastaghfari seems ask God for forgiveness. But he couldn't also maybe do anything more because his wife, and if he wants to, punish her, separate from her, could have consequences. Plus, nothing happened. There was an attempt, but nothing happened. So for different reasons, I think he thought it's better to maintain the problem inside this kind of family. But stopping this to continue by saying that you have to ask for forgiveness, and one condition for forgiveness is not to repeat. إِنَّكَ كُنْتَ مِنَ الْخَاطِئِينَ. You were one of the wrongdoers. You cannot say you are not guilty. But the news spread. Maybe not all the details of this story, but anyway, some women in their circles, who were closely connected, maybe, associates of Pharaoh, etc., they heard at least this much, that Imra'atul Aziz turawidu fataha an nafseh. She wants Yusuf and to have relation with Yusuf. Rumors, maybe they didn't have evidence, maybe they didn't know even the details, rumors spread. قَدْ شَغَفَهَا حُبًّا. Yusuf has captivated her love. She has, fallen in love with Yusuf. It seems that they found this unacceptable. Perhaps not because they were different from Zulaykha, as I will say later. Maybe they were not different from Zulaykha, but they found that this is not prestigious, that a woman of that caliber falls in love with a boy who was like a slave and brought up in their house. It was not prestigious. She could have enjoyed a relation with him, but she would not have fallen in love. Love should be for someone at your level. إِنَّا لَنَرَاهَا فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. We see her in manifest error. We see her in manifest error, but for different reasons. We say Zulaykha was wrong, obviously, because she wanted to do something haram. But this was not the way they looked at it. They were saying she is doing something obviously wrong because someone like him should not have fallen in love with Yusuf. This is a kind of weakness for her. Who is Yusuf? You could do this, for example, with someone higher levels, for example. Something like this. It seems that their mentality was like this because of what comes later. So if you go to the next ayah. فَلَمَّا سَمِعَتْ بِمَكْرِهِنَّ. When Zulaykha heard of their makr, their evil planning, their plots, it seems that they were not just talking, they were also maybe doing something against Zulaykha because it was a makr. They wanted to damage her reputation. So she prepared a kind of feast, invited them, and to make sure that they come, أرسلت إليهن. She sent someone to invite them and prepared for them a nice place to, rest, and gave them, each of them, a knife. وقالت أخرج عليهن. And asked Yusuf to come, and it is said maybe asked them to come from a side room, not something that they were expecting someone comes, so that unexpectedly, all of a sudden, they were faced with Yusuf. It seems Yusuf was not very much appearing in the public. It seems that these women had not seen too much or too often Yusuf, especially when he had grown up. So this was a surprise for them. فَلَمَّا رَأَيْنَهُ أَكْبَرْنَهُ وَقَطَّعْنَ أَيْدِيَهُنَّ وَقُلْنَ حَاشَ لِلَّهِ مَا هَذَا بَشَرًا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا مَلَكٌ كَرِيمٌ. When they saw the beauty of Yusuf and his innocence, they forgot that they had a knife in, that they were cutting the fruit. They cut their own fingers or hands, and they were thinking about Yusuf, and they said that Hausha lillah, this is not a human being. May Allah be glorified. This is nothing except a noble angel. So Yusuf is not guilty, Yusuf is innocent, and is of another level. For Zulaykha, this was excellent, because they accepted that he is of another level. And they cut their fingers because they were so much attracted. You saw Yusuf only once, for a few seconds, you lost your consciousness. What about me? I always see him. قالت فذلكن الذي لمتنني فيه. This is the one that you were blaming me. وَلَقَدْ رَاوَدْتُهُ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ. Now she felt very confident, because she has now something against all of them. So she felt very confident and exposed herself. This is the problem. Sometimes when people become very confident and arrogant, they expose themselves. So she said, yes, راودته عن نفسه. She admitted. فاستعصم. She actually defended Yusuf. But Yusuf tried to protect himself and be protected. So this was a hujjah to hear from Zulaykha herself that Yusuf was not guilty. And she was so stubborn that said, لَإِن لَمْ يَفْعَلْ مَا آمُرُهُ. Maybe now Zulaykha even got more determined. Maybe up to that stage was thinking that, maybe I shouldn't, want this anymore, etc. But when saw this reaction from these women, she felt she did something right. I did it, and I'm going to ask him again. And if he doesn't listen to me, he will be imprisoned, or he will be humiliated, or maybe both, because of Wav. He will be in prison and will be humiliated. Ayatollah Makaram Shirazi says that these women, or some of them, started talking to Yusuf that you should listen to Zulaykha. They brought different reasons. For example, she's nice, she's beautiful, you can enjoy your youth. Or if you don't listen, you will get into trouble, they will put you in prison, they will punish you, etc. So it seems that he doesn't give reference for that in this book, at least, maybe in other books, I don't know. But I think he tries to understand this from the next ayah, because it says قال رب السجن أحب إلي مما يدعونني إليه. My Lord, oh Allah, prison is better to me than what these women are calling me to. From this we can realize that they were calling Yusuf towards something, but not perhaps each of them were calling Yusuf to have relation with her. Maybe, as Ayatollah Makaram said, they were saying that Yusuf listened to Zulaykha. And Yusuf alayhi salam says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I prefer to go to prison than listening to these suggestions, these invitations, these calls. وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ. And my trust is in you. If you don't turn away their plots from me, أَسْبُ إِلَيْهِنَّ, maybe I will be inclined towards them. وَأَكُنْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ, and become one of the ignorant people, because this is irrational, this is unwise. But I am not saying that I am perfect. I need your help. Please help me. The problem is not just one woman, it's now few of them, all insisting on me doing something wrong. This is why I said, when they say to Zulaykha, you are in clear misguidance, Zalal and Mubin, it's different from us thinking that she was in Zalal and Mubin. Because they were not very pious and God-fearing people. They said, you are in manifest error, because they thought it's not prestigious for her to want to have relation with a boy like Yusuf, out of underestimating Yusuf, basically. So, if you go back again to the ayah, here Yusuf alayhi salam said to Allah that I prefer Sajn. Why he said Sajn? Once Zulaykha said to Aziza Misr that the punishment for someone who has evil intention to your wife should be Sajn or Adhabun Alim. Okay? Prison. She mentioned prison at that time. Again here she said, if he doesn't listen to me, la yusjananna wa la yakunan min as-saghirin. So it seems that prison was something that was inevitable. It seems that there was no peaceful end to this. It was not that, for example, at least at that point, maybe this was in the mind, occurred to the mind of Prophet Yusuf. Rabb as-sajnu ahabba ilay. Even going to prison is not a big issue if this is the way to be protected from sins and their tempting sins, suggestions. فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنَّ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Allah listened to him, turned away their kaid. They couldn't affect him. Allah is hearing and is knowledgeable. But ثُمَّ, after some time, they finally decided, despite all the signs of innocence of Yusuf and guilt of Zulaykha, to imprison him for some time. It seems that the news went out of control, and they couldn't kill Yusuf because he was innocent. But they couldn't keep him also. They wanted to have him in a place that would be out of reach, out of contacts. Maybe the news somehow dies. Maybe these things about what Aziz's wife is doing, etc., women, etc., maybe this will be forgotten. So they decided to put him in prison hatta hin, for some time. Maybe the time was not fixed. They said, till further notice, let's have him in prison and see what happens. Then we have the story for the time that he was in prison. So inshallah we'll talk about it. So today we discuss about the time he was in the house of Aziz Misr from childhood till this point. Then inshallah we'll talk about the time in prison next week. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.